It's so obvious. Where's the coach? Coach be like, Larry, you hired me for a reason. You're not competing. What is wrong with you? Wake up, smell the coffee, and actually drink it this time. You need the caffeine because your brain isn't working. Coach Greg and Larry Wheel finally comes clean. He admits he made a mistake, and it's not a small one, and it's a huge mistake, and such a simple one of which it could have been avoided. For a man with this much experience, this much knowledge, I'm frankly shocked that he would do what he did.
Back in Dubai after my long vacation, so it was 20 days of no training, and I want to emphasize the 20 days of no training. Came back, had a deadlift session at 50%, 3 sets of 8, low volume, low weight, very manageable, no problem.
And so the first workout back, Larry takes it easy. 50% of his max, 455, somewhere around there, 8 reps, taking it easy. Nice and easy, no problem, doing low volume, low weights. And so his second, third, and fourth, fifth workout back, he should be slowly progressive overloading, gradually adding more weight, perhaps more intensity, more volume, until he gets back to his former self. But no, not Larry Wheels. What am I going to do? I'm going to put the heaviest weight I've done while training before the injuries, before the 3-week holiday, and do 9 sets of 8 with 660 pounds. Does that make sense? Goes from 450 to 660 in one workout. Jumps up 200 pounds and adds more volume. How did he think that that was a good idea? He's been training for over 10 years. He's a smart guy, knows what he's doing. He's competed a number of times, one of the strongest guys around, has a coach. And so why are we going for such ridiculous volume and trying to pick up so quickly? I'll tell you why. Because he can't leave his ego at the door. He wanted to still set all those records. I had my heart set on breaking records in 5 weeks. And despite the fact that I'm feeling injured, that I took 3 weeks off, I'm still going to do it. That is not the way to do it. And so the first couple sets, they actually went okay. Imagine, he was still able to get 660 for a couple sets of 8, but then started experiencing pain in his back. And rather than saying, that pain, that's not good, he decides to keep going. How many times have you done that? I know I have. I've been guilty of this. I'm picking on Larry, but I've done this in the past as well. It's very hard to leave your ego at the door and to stop lifting. Some people say, how do you stay motivated? How do you keep going to the gym, lifting, pushing yourself so hard? Elite athletes often find it hard not to train. They find it harder to not push themselves, to take it easy, take breaks, and to leave something in the tank knowing that you could get injured. And so if you're at the gym, feel a tweak, a pain, something doesn't feel right, don't keep pushing yourself. What you could do is quite easily lead to injury, and it could get worse, which is exactly what happened to Larry Wheels. He has a first-degree sprain in the lower back, and he has to take time off, and now he can't compete at all.
My pelvis was out of line, and there is a strain in my lower back. So, look, in the big picture, in a month or two, I'll be able to do my 455 kg deadlift.
And so Larry, after getting this diagnosis, this injury, he says, well, I better play it safe, pull out of the competition, which is in 5 weeks, because I'll just get it a couple weeks later. Does that make sense, people? Progressive overload. Take your time. What do you do if you have an injury, a setback? You slowly come back. You don't push too hard. Every week after, you try a little bit more, ensure that you don't get injured, and you simply work your way back. It might take months, maybe even a year. Heavens forbid it takes an entire year to break the world record. And so Larry is rushing it. He's still rushing it. He says, I made a mistake, and he is going to continue to do so. Personally, I think he's lucky. He's only had a few injuries in his entire life. It could have been way worse. But if he continues to think he can push himself to this extent and simply bounce back after a week or two after injuries, he's going to keep re-injuring himself. It's going to get worse. As the body ages, injuries become even more obvious. You don't recover as well. And so Larry, not a teenager anymore. He's in his late 20s. He needs to be realistic and set realistic goals. And when these records happen, they happen. You can't force it. You can't speed things along. You can't just say, I'm going to make up for time lost. I'm just going to rush my workouts, rush getting stronger. That's the worst thing you can do. Please take your time. Eventually you'll get there. And so what should he have done? Well, after taking the 3 weeks off, he'd come back, 455, the next week, 500, then 550, 600, 650, 700. Perhaps it takes an extra month or two to get to where he wanted. He enters the powerlifting contest injury-free, and perhaps he doesn't get the 1,000 pounds. Heavens forbid, he only gets about 940. And then after the competition, he keeps training, and then he peaks for the next one. You're allowed to set records in the future. They don't have to be today. And so just because you really want it bad, just because you can't wait, doesn't mean you need to do it in 5 weeks. It's okay if it takes 5 months, even if it's 5 years. But you don't rush an injury. You don't try to force yourself and speed things along. And why are we taking 3 weeks off doing nothing? I have no idea how Larry was able to go on vacation for 3 straight weeks and do nothing. I go on vacations and it's hard to take 3 days off. Now, that's me. Other people, perhaps they can go on a week's vacation and do nothing. I'm not that kind of person. I need to do something. When I go on vacation, I still want to lift weights. I still want to bike ride. Maybe not as much as before. Perhaps only half as much, even a third. But to completely take 3 weeks off doing absolutely nothing and think that you can just come back to the gym and pick up where you left off, that to me makes no sense. I can't imagine how Larry Wheels thought he could do this. But hey, the guy is superhuman. He's done such crazy things in the past. And so perhaps this is the first wake-up call that he's had, that Larry Wheels is actually a human being. He's not from planet Krypton. He can't just lift anything and everything he wants, even without training. 3 weeks without training, that is a long time off. It's going to take a long time for your body to get back the strength it lost. Imagine you stop cardio, bike race, swimming, running for 3 weeks and come back. You're going to be slower. Or if you haven't squatted or benched or deadlifted in 3 weeks and you come back, it's tough. You have lost a lot of strength and it's going to take some time to get back. And so anyone, if you get injured, you go on vacation, take your time coming back. Learn from Larry Wheels' mistakes. And Larry Wheels, if you're watching this, take your time yet again. You just got injured. There's no reason to rush this. I don't think you should expect to deadlift 1,000 pounds in a month or two. Let it happen when it happens. Don't rush things. Take your time.
For the immediate future, I cannot do this competition in August. It's a strongman comp, Middle East strongest man. I'd be foolish to think that with just 3 weeks of training, which is the amount of training I have left before the comp, I'd be able to perform well at the competition. I'd be able to perform to my expectations that I initially set when signing up. Right now, I need at least another week of building back up, testing the waters, making sure my back's okay, and then I need to rebuild that conditioning I had before I went on the vacation.
And I'm watching the video and it keeps getting worse. He's like, yeah, it's going to take me, a whole week to get back the conditioning that I lost. What are we talking about here? You take 3 weeks off. It doesn't take a week to come back. 3 weeks off, take 3 weeks to get it back. What is going on? Oh, I'm going to take 3 weeks off. It'll probably take me a week to get my complete strength and fitness back. What world do we live in? Oh, I'll just take, 4 or 5 months off and probably take me 2 or 3 weeks to get it back. That is ridiculous. Sounds like people who think, oh, I'll bulk and then I'll do a mini cut. I'll bulk up 4 feet, 3 or 4 months, and then I'll do a mini cut 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll repeat. It's not that simple, people.
All I got was a small strain, but this small strain is a big stick in my foot for the situation I'm in, because I only have a few weeks of training left.
It's shocking. It's like, I got this injury and it's just 1 or 2 weeks, not quite enough to get back there. I think it close to enough, 1 or 2 weeks to break records in 4 weeks from now. And I gotta pull back. It's like, how does he even think it's a close call? It's so obvious. Where's the coach? Coach be like, Larry, you hired me for a reason. You're not competing. What is wrong with you? Wake up, smell the coffee, and actually drink it this time. You need the caffeine because your brain isn't working.
I am still going for the 1,000 pound deadlift. I'm just going to push the date a bit further. Let's say instead of doing it late August in the day of the competition, I'll do it in September.
So I'm injured, I've hurt myself, the doctor's got it diagnosed, and so rather than breaking this world record at the end of August, I'm going to do it in early September, a couple weeks later. What?
Mark's a great coach, and I'm a good student, but there's really only one way to learn, and you have to just put yourself through it.
And so he says, I probably shouldn't do strongman, even though I have a great coach and I'm a great student. The evidence doesn't support this. If you have a great coach, he wouldn't be having you do 660 pounds for 9 sets of 8 after coming back from a 3-week layoff where you didn't do anything. And if you were in fact a great student, you could learn these strongman movements in your late 20s. Late 20s, it's not almost over. People maximize their strength into their mid 30s. You've got several years left ahead of you. If you want to do strongman, you can. Take your time. The problem is you think that you can master every discipline in a couple of weeks or months. The reason for that is because you're such a freak athlete that you've been able to break records and do amazing things your entire life. But once you get to the elite of the elite, it does in fact take time. You can't just say, I feel like doing strongman now and I'll be the world champion probably in 6 months. It takes years and you're not too old. And if you want to do it, take your time and do it.
You know, for me, squat, bench, deadlift related injuries are very rare because I feel I've mastered the movements.
Yet he's literally been injured during a squat in a powerlifting competition in the past, and he just got injured doing deadlifts. And so is it that rare if it just happened now? And what are the chances it'll never happen again? Larry gonna max out, put 650 on the bar? You don't think he's ever gonna pull a pec? You don't think that he'll continue to get injured if he keeps this mindset trying to set world records in a matter of weeks? Especially coming off of an injury and layoff. I don't get it.
Granted, small injuries, but they're big setbacks when you're preparing for competition. A small injury sets you back weeks, and you only have weeks to work with when you're training for a competition.
Well, it could in fact set you back months and or years. He also says when you're preparing for a competition, you only have weeks to prepare for it. Not true. You could in fact train for months and or years for a competition. And so if you want to set the world record in the deadlift, you could quite literally train for that the entire year. Not a couple weeks, months, year. And it could take years, plural. You could say, somewheres in the year 2025, I'm going to try to set the world record in the deadlift. Doesn't have to be right now. You don't have to make it in weeks. And so if you get injured while training, you slow down. Everyone's going to get injured at one point or another. It's inevitable. Yeah, we get it. But doesn't mean you just come back and try to speed through the healing process and try to still set the world record in a couple of weeks. I don't get it. I simply don't understand this mindset.
I'm sorry to let the strongman fans down who want to see me do this comp, but I need to look after my health first and foremost. But don't worry, I'm still doing the 1,000 pound deadlift. That's still on schedule. I'm just pushing it back.
And so if you don't think that Larry Wheels is feeling the pressure from perhaps the fans, social media, and so on to live up to their high expectations of him, he's saying, I'm sorry to the fans. I apologize. I'm not going to be doing the strongman competition. It's like, we don't need you to apologize. You're doing the best thing you can do for your health. But then you say, but it's on still. It's just going to take me a couple more weeks to get the 1,000 pound deadlift. The lightest person to ever do that. You don't have to announce this. You don't have to say this. There is no expectations. I personally feel that Larry Wheels is trying to meet the bar, which it's not even here. It's way up there. I can't reach that high. I'm just a manlet. The bar is set so high that Larry Wheels feels he has to do this. He can't let us down. But meanwhile, we just want him to not get hurt and take his time. And when he does these records, and he will in the future, we'll be ready. There's no rush. Take it easy. Hope you have a speedy recovery. Ending it here. And if you're looking for harder than last time supplements, so many including creatine, beta-alanine, protein powders, pre-workouts, G-Stim, Jaw, I can't name them all. Click the link in the description. Also the cookbooks, the training books, coaching plans by me and my team. Check out the bloops, subscribe and click that bell button. Comment for the algorithm. Please follow me on Instagram, Greg Doucette IP Pro. Check out my website, gregdoucette.com. And until next time, I am out.